Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to the Telehead Audiobook channel, where stories come to life through the magic of sound. I am your host, Telehead, and I'm here to guide you through a world of imagination. Hawthorne crossed over and ended up in a saintly monastery full of beautiful women. Here, he met intellectual and gentle Sister Heidi, petite and aloof Sister Yuta, knowledgeable and gentle Sister Butterfly, and Sister Celine, who had a leader's temperament, maturity, and steadiness. But having cleared the pure love route in the game Which Monastery, he knew very well that each of them was a terrifying monster that devoured people without blinking an eye. So, sit back, relax, and let the stories unfold. Let's embark on this adventure together.
Chapter 10, Contract Casting. Dispersing the water ball in his hand, Hawthorne couldn't wait to open the system and bring up his attribute panel. As expected, there were already very obvious changes on it. Host, Hawthorne. Gender, male. Race, human subspecies, Qingyin tribe. Age, 15 years old. Height, 1.69 meters. Weight, 49.8 kilograms. Strength, 8. Agile, 9. Physical condition, 7. Intelligence, 13. Perception, 12. Charm, 20. Occupation, Level 1 Warlock. Warlock class abilities. Contract magic. After signing a contract with the witch, Heidi, you can obtain magic from her and use it to cast spells. The key attribute you use when casting spells is Charm. After resting and meditating for at least 1 hour, you can restore all expended spell points. Current mana, April 4th. Current highest spellcasting ring level, first ring. Specialty, none. Spell. Magic trick, mana explosion. First circle spell, create water/dry water spell. Spellbook, none. Looking at his own dashboard, Hawthorne couldn't help but stare in surprise, then his tone was filled with astonishment. Heidi, this. The biggest feature of the warlock profession is its unique, packed magic ability. With this characteristic, warlocks can quickly restore their magic by only resting and meditating for 1 hour. Essentially, they are requesting magic from their patron, and then cast spells again. And all other spellcasting professions, whether it be mage, warlock, or priest-paladin, need to rest and meditate for up to 8 hours in order to replenish their expended mana. Only the sorcerer is an exception. Of course, quick recovery also comes at a cost. Masters often do not give their sorcerers too much magic power all at once. A first-level mage generally has 4 spell points, while a warlock often only has 2. When the level is higher, this gap will become even larger. A level 3 mage can have 14 spell points, while a level 3 warlock only has a pitiful 6 points. A level 5 mage can have 27 spell points, while a warlock only has 10 points. However, this only drawback seems completely insignificant in the face of Heidi's overwhelming care for him. Because of their somewhat absurd contract, Heidi has almost completely shared her power with him, so he, as a level 1 sorcerer, actually has the same amount of magical power as a mage of the same level. And compared to a mage who needs 8 hours of rest to restore mana, he only needs 1 hour of rest to restore all spellcasting abilities. This is incredible strength. No longer caring about the free magic explosion, Hawthorne quickly used the water creation/drought spell that was given to him for free. With excitement, he flipped over and pressed down on Heidi's body, while kissing her soft lips. Ooh! In the room, there is a fragrant and lively atmosphere. 4 days later. Preparing this diary is to record my daily actions, to motivate myself in studying and practicing, and to avoid indulging in pleasure and neglecting the improvement of my own abilities and knowledge. Day 1, through Heidi. Day 2, through Heidi. On the 3rd day, Hawthorne, oh Hawthorne, you must not continue to sink like this. As the saying goes, I examine myself 3 times a day. You still have a lot of knowledge to learn, a lot of training to complete. You can't indulge in physical pleasure anymore. Day 4, peeking into the kitchen with Heidi. Ah. Lying in bed, Hawthorne couldn't help but sigh after reading the last paragraph. He closed his diary and reflected on his actions over the past few days. How can I not control myself? He glanced sideways and saw that Heidi had fallen asleep. Her light green long hair was spread out messily on the pillow, like a pond covered in floating duckweed. There was a sweet smile on her lips, as if she was having a pleasant dream. But in reality, Hawthorne knew that she was just too tired. During the day, she had to transmit knowledge and magic to herself, helping him control his own spells, while teaching him various magical knowledge. But to be honest, Heidi couldn't be considered a good teacher, at least not for humans. Because many of her spellcasting abilities are innate, she herself is not clear about their principles. Therefore, she is also unsure how to teach these spells to humans, so that even an ordinary person who knows nothing about magic can wield these spells with ease. So in the end, she had no choice but to return to the most primitive teaching method, that is, patiently demonstrating the process of casting these spells to him, letting him feel and imitate, slowly summarizing the rules himself, and then trying to learn these spells. However, this process of feeling requires him to be very close and intimate with Heidi. Thanks to the blessings of the kitchen and dormitory provided by this system, he is able to perfectly intake a huge amount of nutrients every day. No matter how tired he is, as long as he wakes up from a good night's sleep, he immediately resurrects with full health, refreshed and full of energy. The result of having such a good physical condition is that every time he has intimate contact with Heidi, within a few seconds, his body will have a very strong reaction. This which now obeys him completely, she won't refuse any of his requests. Sensing his overflowing desire, she immediately stops teaching and gently helps him in various ways, and then he wrote a diary for 4 days. No, this is absolutely not working. As mentioned earlier, Heidi is a girl who has frequent desires but is easily satisfied, and eventually ends up defeated. So after each encounter, tired as she is, she must take a rest before she can continue. Although the process of flipping clouds and raining with Heidi can promote energy exchange and deepen understanding between the two, it is not only harmless but also beneficial. However, the efficiency of such activity, reflecting on his actions over the past few days, he secretly resolved in his heart, if I continue like this, I won't be able to accomplish anything. I must change my strategy tomorrow. You must be tough on yourself, otherwise how can you survive in this dangerous world? With this determination, he then lay down and fell into a deep sleep. The next day, in the early morning, when the first ray of sunlight appeared in the east, Hawthorne slowly opened his eyes. However, he was not awakened by the sunlight, but by an indescribable sense of pleasure coming from his lower body. He lowered his head and saw Heidi, who was already dressed in a nun's habit, kneeling on the bed, devoutly and diligently using her little mouth to awaken his young body. It seems that she noticed his actions, and then the girl raised her head, revealing an angelic gentle smile. Good morning, Master. Chapter 11, 2 Magic Books. Hawthorne couldn't resist any longer and turned over, pressing her beneath him. With skilled hands, he removed her nun's habit and easily found the softest and most sensitive spot on her body. Oh! With the movement of his waist, Heidi let out a satisfied and pleasant moan. Half an hour later, Hawthorne, with a complex expression on his face as he watched the witch diligently helping him get dressed and out of bed, hesitated for a long time before slowly speaking, Heidi, how about you stop teaching me magic from today onwards? Go help me find some magic books, I'll learn by myself. Visible to the naked eye, Heidi's delicate body suddenly trembled. She then lifted her head, her eyes filled with obvious panic. Why? Did Heidi do something wrong to make the master angry? Hawthorne quickly shook his head and repeatedly denied, of course not, it's really my fault. Every time Heidi teaches me magic, I just can't control my desires. He said this with a somewhat embarrassed tone. I feel that doing it this way is too time-consuming, so I plan to study on my own in the future. Perhaps the efficiency will be higher. Heidi bit her lower lip and her eyes welled up with tears as she said, I understand, Master. From now on, when the Master is studying magic, I will try to stay away as much as possible. Looking at her melancholy appearance, Hawthorne couldn't help but feel guilty. He quickly hugged her and comforted her repeatedly. Alas, it's all my fault for having such poor willpower. Once I sit down, My mind becomes chaotic, and once it's chaotic, I can't get anything done in the morning. The two of them then went to the kitchen together and made a hearty seafood breakfast with simple ingredients. Hawthorne ate everything, including the meat, vegetables, and bread, feeling warm inside and out like a furnace. Endless energy was sprouting between his bones and muscles, and he could even hear the sound of his own muscles and bones developing and growing. Not bad, it seems that I will be able to fully recover my health soon. By then, my physical attributes should also increase by 1 or 2 points, right? With such emotions, he then returned to the room and continued to familiarize himself with the spells he had previously learned. Meanwhile, Heidi went out to get him some magic books. If in other places, this kind of book may not be easy to obtain, after all, magic, this powerful ability, is considered a treasure by anyone. But this is Lieberport, the place where the goddess of magic personally manifested miracles, and it is the largest port city in the world. Countless forces from all over the world gather here, and the market here engages in massive trade worth billions of gold coins every day. As long as you have money, it is incredibly easy to find magic-related items here. Not to mention, in the university city of this city, there is a well-known university where the goddess of magic herself has come to give lectures. Strayhaven Magic University. Although this school is nominally a comprehensive university that teaches everything, there is no doubt that its renowned foundation lies in their almost magical ability to cultivate anyone into a spellcaster. After graduating from the university, the second-hand textbooks sold by its students have become popular not only among younger students who want to save money on textbooks, but also among many ambitious individuals who see them as the only way to learn magic. Therefore, in this city, it is not very difficult to buy a textbook for studying magic. However, whether one can become talented through self-study without the guidance of a teacher is another question. Cough. In short, Heidi just needs to go out and take a few steps to the district where the university city is located, and she can easily buy these books for Hawthorne. However, as a loyal and devoted witch, Heidi would not be satisfied with just helping him choose some ordinary textbooks. 3 hours later. 17, 18, 19, 20, sigh. In the room, Hawthorne suddenly collapsed onto the bed, his arms trembling, and gasping for breath. While gasping for breath, he couldn't help but feel a sense of frustration in his heart. Damn, this body is really weak. Even though I've been taking good care of myself for several days, I can barely manage to do 20 push-ups now without getting exhausted. How can such a weak body possibly conquer more witches in the future? Still need to recuperate and exercise. Just as he was contemplating his future exercise plan, the door suddenly swung open. He turned his head and saw Heidi walking in, holding a small package wrapped in black fabric. Master, she closed the door and then approached with a hint of guilt. I'm sorry, Master. Heidi has been indulging in pleasure and hasn't saved enough money. So this time, when we went to the area around the university, we could only buy 2 textbooks. Speaking, she placed the package on the bedside table, opened it, and saw inside a thick magic book with a blue cover and another one with a purple cover. On them were written Introductory Book of Quantitative Analysis and Introductory Book of Illusionary Magic, respectively. Quantitative Analysis and Elegance are the names of the colleges at Straven University. It is evident that these 2 books are the first ones that the incoming students of Quantitative Analysis College and Elegance College respectively have to study. These appear to be just 2 ordinary textbooks. However, Hawthorne, who has now been exposed to Heidi's magical abilities, suddenly furrows his brow slightly. Then, his expression froze for a moment. These 2 books are magical items? He has already sensed the magical fluctuations emanating from these 2 books. While sharing her magic with him, Heidi also shared with him the ability to perceive magic. Therefore, at a glance, he can determine that both of these books are magical items. This also means that as long as you have these 2 books, anyone, even someone who has never studied magic or is illiterate, can cast the spells recorded in them. He couldn't help but stammer, Heidi, are these 2 books particularly expensive? This is a magical item, and the starting price is probably over 300 gold coins. You should know that even in the port of Libel, a skilled and excellent blacksmith who can forge plate armor only earns an average of about 2 gold coins per day. And this book, it will be the total income of a blacksmith for 5 months. This kind of magic book is so expensive, but Heidi bought 2 of them as soon as she made a move. And as for his question, Heidi Weiner smiled, sat on the bed, and leaned close to him. I also want the master to become stronger as quickly as possible. With these, the master's learning speed will definitely be much faster than using ordinary introductory books. Hawthorne's heart was instantly filled with emotion, but at the same time, a feeling of shame emerged. Damn it, it seems like I've been completely taken as a kept man by Heidi. No, you also have to come up with a solution yourself and find a way to make some money. After all, as Heidi just mentioned, she doesn't have much savings left. However, how can we make money? Chapter 12, Memory Witch, Butterfly. As soon as he thought of this, Hawthorne became somewhat worried. In the game, there are mainly 2 methods for making money in the early stages. The first method is to use gold buildings in the monastery, such as a sewing shop, to make and sell clothes or similar items in exchange for gold coins. However, relying solely on this method, besides requiring a nun to work there long term, the speed of earning money is particularly slow and does not solve the problem at all. You have to wait until the second level to build gold coin buildings like blacksmith shops and trade stations that can receive large orders, in order to make some progress. But this is undoubtedly a distant and unattainable expectation. And another way is to go to the government halls in various districts to undertake reward missions, and then go to fight monsters to level up. But this road, although Hawthorne knows many early shortcuts and strategies, they are all tailored to the player's character. For example, sacrificing some attributes to level up, starting as a level 3 warlock, immediately learning the second-tier spell Agonas's Fire Spray, taking on the task of clearing goblins, and then causing trouble on the mountains in the northwest rubble area, using a single fire attack to wipe out all the goblin groups. Finally, you can still rush in. Not only can you harvest a pile of treasures, but also gain an exceptionally talented and powerful individual. However, today, by accident, you fell into a goblin's trap. Fortunately, the protagonist arrived early, otherwise the beautiful female knight who was insulted would have suffered. Cough. But this is the path that the original protagonist can take, but he cannot. His current attributes, although slightly higher in charm, are overall lower than the lowest initial attributes of player characters. And he is only level 1, he doesn't know any spells except for a non-combat water creation/desiccation spell at the first level. Even with Heidi's help, he doesn't dare to rush into the rubble area now. This is the real world, and the enemy cannot stay in one place waiting for you. In case they just climbed up the mountain and fell into a goblin trap, or encountered centaurs, minotaurs, or something else plundering everywhere, there would be nowhere to cry. There is only one life, and until he is fully confident, Hawthorne does not plan to take the risk over there. But because of this, the issue of money is like a big mountain, still heavily weighing on his shoulders. Alas, no matter in which world, a penny can really stump a hero. In fact, as a small fry, there is a third way to make money in the game, and this way is even the right path because it can unlock the most CGs. However, after researching various strategies and even staying up all night, it is impossible for Hawthorne, who is determined to complete the game out of pure love, to choose this money-making path. Forget it, I don't want to think about it anymore. I'll worry about the money later. For now, let's just understand these 2 books in hand. Shaking his head to clear his mind of these troubles, Hawthorne then opened the Introduction to Quantitative Analysis in his hand, ready to see for himself what the specific contents of the magic book were like. Heidi also came over, looking like she wanted to read with him. At this moment, the witch was sticking close by, and the faint scent of a young girl entered his nostrils, instantly igniting a fire within him. However, this time, he forcefully suppressed the urge to flip Heidi over with a determined will. His face looked troubled as he continued, "Thank you, Heidi, but when I study, it would be better if you stayed away. I always feel that if you continue to stay here, I won't be able to control myself and end up spending all my time on, indulging in pleasure between us." He felt a little embarrassed and awkward. Just as someone had brought him a book, he wanted to hurry them away. Upon reflection, he always felt that this kind of behavior was a bit scummy. Fortunately, Heidi doesn't mind. She lowered her head and gently kissed Hawthorne's lips, then said, I will be waiting at the door. Whenever you need me, just call me and I will come in immediately to serve you. After speaking, she turned around and walked away gracefully. Hawthorne watched her figure leave and couldn't help but feel deeply moved. Is this the life of the upper class, with exclusive maidservants serving them? I am just an ordinary commoner, I really can't adapt well. Converging these thoughts, Hawthorne refocused his attention on the magic book, then a slight smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. In the 5 colleges of St. Heiwen University, the College of Quantitative Analysis specializes in mathematics, and then uses its mathematical knowledge and computational abilities to perform some spells. And as is well known, the average mathematical level of foreigners. Poochie. You talking to me about math makes me want to laugh. JPG. Although Hawthorne is not a mathematician specializing in theoretical research, he was at least a problem solver in a small town in his previous life, the king of East Asian cramming. I dare not say anything else, but those math problems that foreigners do, in his eyes, are simply not difficult at all. Oh, well, now let's start doing the questions. With great ambition, he then opened the book Introduction to Quantitative Analysis and began to study and research in depth. On the other hand, after going out, Heidi strolled through the monastery planted with plane trees, her expression showing some distress. The master is studying magic and will inevitably need a large amount of money in the future. So, how can one quickly obtain money? Before this, she really had no experience in making money. After all, her life hardly required any financial support. She fed on human souls, so when she felt hungry, she could just grab an unlucky person from the slums and sustain herself for a long time, without needing to spend money on food. As for this monastery, it was also obtained by the powerful witch Celian through some means, and she didn't spend much money in the process. The money to buy magic books for Hawthorne was only obtained by chance over the years, such as from people she caught carrying a lot of cash. She felt that this money might be useful in the future, so she kept it and gradually accumulated it. She has always been like this, but now she suddenly wants to make money and suddenly has no idea. How can I make money the fastest? It seems that there have been several new gangs in the slums of Nangang district recently. They appear to be small-time thugs from other districts who have formed new factions here. These gangs should have some money. Or, go over there and kill them all yourself, take all their money, and then disguise yourself as a gangster, right? Oh, I'm afraid that if too many people die at once and it causes too much commotion. It's one thing to be complained by my sisters, I can brush it off and move on, but if it really attracts the attention of the Black Cane Tower, then the master might really be in danger. She was immersed in troubled contemplation when suddenly, a gentle female voice came from behind her. What are you thinking about, Heidi? Why the long face? Heidi turned her head at the sound and saw a nun wearing a black robe. The nun had a slender and upright figure, delicate features, black hair, and black eyes. She was standing behind Heidi, smiling at her. She is another powerful witch from the monastery, the memory witch, Butterfly. Chapter 13, The Amazon Warriors of the Amazon. In terms of strength, besides the fact that Celian, the Witch of Destiny, firmly holds the first position in the monastery, both Yuta's second position and Heidi's third position are actually not very secure. The reason behind it all is the memory witch in front of me, Butterfly. This witch is even shorter than Heidi, with jet black, straight hair hidden under a nun's hat, only a few strands peeking out. Her delicate eyebrows resemble willow leaves, and beneath her long eyelashes are a pair of beautiful eyes like black pearls. Compared to Heidi, her face appears more tender, and the curve of her chest is only slightly raised, like the green fruit of a 16 or 17-year-old girl, showing obvious development but still far from reaching full maturity. Oh, such a sweet and delicious appearance and taste. But in reality, her true age exceeds 2,000 years old, making her the oldest witch in the monastery, with the most experience and the most knowledge. As a witch, she naturally feeds on human souls. However, while consuming a person's soul, she also enjoys taking away their memories. Then, in the satisfaction of being full, she delicately appreciates the person's past, as if watching a movie. This makes her knowledge extremely extensive, and she is very familiar with the methods and weaknesses of various professions. She is also adept at various spells, and there is nothing she cannot cast except for those she is incapable of. The only regret is that every witch's night, she loses some memories while losing control. This makes her power fluctuate, unpredictable every year. When she is strong, she can even rival Celine, but when she is weak, she may not even be as good as Heidi. Witches rarely engage in conflicts with each other, and even fewer participate in boring activities like martial arts competitions. Therefore, no one knows for sure how strong the current butterfly is. Heidi's mood was somewhat nervous because at this moment, the butterfly seemed to have discovered something. You haven't been going out to hunt in the past few days. Have you encountered any trouble? If there is any trouble, feel free to tell me. Perhaps my experience can help you solve some problems. Heidi's heart was in her throat. Ever since being purified by Hawthorne, the deep conversations they had every day were enough to fulfill her needs. So these past few days, she has not made any plans to capture outsiders and consume their souls. She thought that the other witches would be too busy with their own things and wouldn't notice this for a short time, but she didn't expect that the butterfly had already noticed it. No, now is not a good time to take action. We need to come up with a way to stall and get through this. She thought this way, then forced a smile and said, "Indeed, there is something recently that has been causing me great worry, to the point where I have lost the mood for hunting." Then, without waiting for the butterfly to ask, she quickly spoke again, "I'm thinking, what method can I use to quickly obtain a large amount of money?" Saying this, she looked at the butterfly with hopeful eyes, taking the initiative to steer the conversation. "Dear butterfly, my good sister, I have always known that you have the most extensive experience. So, in your memory, do you have any methods for making money quickly?" The butterfly put on a smile and walked alongside her, looking somewhat puzzled. "What do you need money for?" "There is a small problem, which can be easily solved if there is enough money." Heidi stood up straight, looked ahead with her head held high, and made an effort to maintain her composure. She continued to lead the conversation. "So, butterfly, can you help me?" The butterfly opened her mouth slightly, but in the end, she decided not to ask any further. Having experienced the passage of time, she had developed the habit of not prying into other people's secrets and getting along well with every witch. After a moment of contemplation, she continued, "The fastest way to make money, without a doubt, is robbery. Although our Nangang district is not wealthy, and even the Jinlong Bank does not have a branch here, it doesn't mean that our district doesn't have wealthy households." Saying this, her eyes suddenly lit up, and she swallowed a bit of saliva. "The simplest thing is that we just need to seize the Amazon Fisheries Company. By the way, we can also capture a few female warriors." She was a bit greedy because of the overall, low-key strategy of the monastery. It had been a very long time since she had tasted the wild and resilient souls of the Amazonian female warriors. Right now, this craving even made her nun's habit wriggle, as if her legs were trembling. But Heidi knew that those were not legs, but rather the tentacles that emerged from the butterfly when it couldn't control its own desires. She immediately furrowed her brows slightly and said in a slightly reproachful tone, "This plan is too crazy. I was just considering robbing some gangsters in the slums, but I'm worried that if we kill too many people, it will attract too much attention and outsiders will get involved. You're something else. As soon as you open your mouth, you want to provoke those female pirates." Amazon Fisheries Company is a large enterprise ostensibly engaged in fishing, established by Amazonian female warriors. About 50 years ago, the colonial troops of the Empire of Seine arrived here, using the port of the South Harbor District as a military port, and launched a cruel colonial war against the indigenous people of the southern Amazon islands. So, these female warriors who still maintain the structure of the original matrilineal society, usually travel around in simple wooden boats, robbing money, food, and men. They have united unprecedentedly and fought a heroic and tear-jerking war of resistance. The war lasted for several years, and in the end, due to internal political issues within the Empire of Seine, the war resulted in heavy losses for the female warriors. However, the Empire returned all the occupied islands, and both sides signed a peace treaty to bring it to an end. In this war, the Seine Empire has expended countless manpower, resources, and finances, but apart from uniting the previously warring tribes of the Amazon islands like never before, they have gained nothing. Not only that, since then, these female warriors have also started to open their eyes to the world, learning about the organization of the empire, and establishing a new country called the Amazon Kingdom. They elected their war heroes as queens and began actively participating in broader international cooperation. An Amazon fisheries company is the product of this process. The Queen of the Amazon believes that the previous lifestyle, which was mainly based on plundering, cannot last in the new era. Therefore, she took the initiative to use national power and establish this comprehensive company, which is nominally focused on fisheries but actually engages in robbery, fishing, salvage, escorting, transportation, and so on. And now, they are actively engaging in trade through the port of Libreville with various countries and regions. Although they cannot be compared to behemoth financial conglomerates like the Golden Dragon Bank, which can influence the entire world, they are at least a dominant force in the southern port district. Heidi is a witch from the deep sea. During the early years of her existence, she often took on her true form, with tentacles and curved sharp teeth, and engaged in intimate and friendly physical or magical communication with this group of pirates. Several decades ago, when the Amazon people were still small, scattered matrilineal tribes, she could still rely on her own personal strength to bully them a little. But now, they have united into a large kingdom. Going to provoke the biggest enterprise, isn't that like asking for death? Therefore, Heidi strongly rejected this suggestion, saying, "No, attacking the Amazon people would not only affect you and me, but it would also bring disaster to the monastery." Chapter 14, Generous Butterfly. The butterfly swallowed again, its robes stopped wriggling, leaving only a face full of regret. "All right." Looking at Heidi's stern expression, she then said, "Actually, I don't know how to quickly get money either. You know me, Heidi, I'm not interested in money, so I don't really pay much attention to those methods of making money." However, after a pause, she suddenly changed the subject. "But, if you really need money urgently now, I can lend you some." Speaking, she took out a deep green transparent gemstone from her pocket. That is a top-quality purple jade, worth at least 500 gold coins on the market. Heidi's eyes lit up instantly, while the butterfly smiled mischievously. "Do you feel satisfied with these? If not, I have more here." Speaking, she took out a pure black pearl and stuffed it into Heidi's hand, saying, "When I used to consume human memories in the past, I would occasionally discover that they hid some jewelry somewhere. Anyway, they will never use these things again, so I accepted them on their behalf. If you need it, just take it, dear Heidi. Sell them for a good price, no need to be polite with me." Heidi immediately beamed with joy, rushed over, stretched out her arms, and tightly embraced the butterfly's body. "Ah, my dear sister, you are truly amazing." However, in the area covered by the nun's robe, her arms rapidly extended, and her 5 fingers transformed into ink-green tentacles, secretly reaching into the butterfly's clothes and entwining with her antennae. After living together in the monastery for so long, she was well aware of what she should do to make the butterfly happy. And the butterfly maintains a gentle smile, reaching back to embrace her, squinting slightly. "Ah, my dear sister, this is a piece of cake. As long as you can help me out after the next witch's night, I will be completely satisfied." In the room, Hawthorne was carefully reading the table of contents of the book Introduction to Quantitative Analysis in his hands. This book is basically divided into 2 main parts. The first part covers the mathematics and magic knowledge that students at the Quantitative Analysis Academy need to learn when they first start. The second part, however, is where the true value of this book lies as an expensive magical item. In the second half, the mysterious and complex text, symbols, patterns, and color blocks form a magical array that would make Hawthorne dizzy at first glance. This allows the book to accumulate magical energy every day. The person who possesses it does not need any learning or training and can simply speak the command words to expend this layer of energy and cast a spell called Thunder Wave. After depleting this layer of charge, a person with the ability to cast spells can utter another command word, even if they haven't learned this particular spell, and infuse their own magic into the book in order to cast the spell. Hawthorne couldn't understand those obscure magic formations, but the instructions for using this book are easy to comprehend. He was eager to give it a try and experience the power of this spell. But unfortunately, when the spell, Thunderclap, is cast, it produces a loud noise that can be heard clearly within a radius of several hundred meters, which will definitely attract the attention of the witches. Therefore, he had to suppress the restlessness in his heart and force himself to redirect his attention back to the book. Then, an hour passed quickly. Sitting on the bed, feeling a bit dizzy and overwhelmed, Hawthorne reluctantly put down the heavy book in his hand, took a deep breath, and then closed his eyes. He slowly massaged his temples with his index fingers. Too abstract. What the hell is this textbook? It's even more convoluted than the textbooks from my previous life's university. Damn it, is this thing really meant for teaching and educating? They write the textbooks like this. Do they really want students to learn? Hawthorne's heart is full of resentment. To be honest, the mathematical content in this book is not particularly difficult for him, who has been a problem solver in a small town for over 10 years. But inside, about how to construct a model of spells in the mind, similar to constructing mathematical models, the content of casting spells is written. I don't understand, I really don't understand at all. What? First imagine a 20-sided regular polyhedron in your mind, connect each pair of geometric vertices, color each edge red or blue, and then calculate all permutations. I don't understand. I can't imagine something so abstract that I've never seen before. He is very distressed. Actually, it is quite obvious. As long as he keeps trying according to the things in the textbook, one day he will be able to figure it out and learn the several examples recorded above. But this efficiency is too slow. And this process is too painful. Rubbing his temples for a moment of relaxation, Hawthorne opened his eyes again and then made up his mind. I must come up with a way to improve the efficiency of learning magic. He has no teacher to guide him, and self-study has yielded little results. Fortunately, he now has a method to improve his reading efficiency at his disposal. He then summoned the system, flipped to the page on architecture, looked at the building labeled Study, and began reading its detailed description. And within the system, the description of the study building is not much different from the content in his memory of the game. It simply means that the characters who settle in this building can accelerate their learning speed. Learning anything, including but not limited to magic, historical knowledge, religious knowledge, natural knowledge. And this is only a first-level study room. When the rank of the monastery is elevated, the study room can be upgraded to a book depository or even a book tower, allowing multiple people to study here simultaneously. At the same time, this is also a prerequisite building for the subsequent construction of the Chamber of Contemplation. Without it, players cannot train the ordinary nuns recruited later into powerful priests in the field of knowledge. So, this building can be said to be a must-visit for players. Hawthorne also really wants to point it out right now. However, if he does so, he will have to face a problem. Heidi, he called softly outside, are you still there? Foo. A gentle breeze suddenly blew in from outside the window, followed by the soft voice of Heidi at the door, saying, I'm here. Ga. Saying that, she pushed the door open and her tone was cheerful, with a gleam in her beautiful eyes. Is the master tired from studying? Do you need Heidi to help you relax a bit? In just 2 short sentences, it stirred up a surge of anger and frustration in Hawthorne. After struggling to suppress his desires, he shook his head repeatedly and said, No, what I meant to ask was, is there a study room in the monastery? Chapter 15, New Building, Study Room. Although these witches gather together to cover for each other and eat people, they still put on a show. At least in this monastery, there is a study room for the nuns to read scriptures and practice. So, Heidi nodded, there is one, but I have never been there, no one should go there, and it probably hasn't been cleaned. She said with some embarrassment, is the master going there? Please wait a moment, let me clean it up first, and then take the master there. Hawthorne's mood instantly brightened upon hearing this. No need, just take me there directly. Heidi did not refuse either. She then helped him change clothes, and after that, they went out. After passing through a corridor, they quickly turned into the only small study in the monastery. This door hasn't been opened for a long time. As soon as it was pushed open, dust fell from the edges of the door. Hawthorne instinctively covered his nose, took a step back, and waited for the dust to settle before looking inside. On the sunny side of the room, there are two spacious desks, each with a pen holder containing several pens and a bottle of ink. However, without a doubt, there is a thick layer of dust on the desk, pen bodies, and ink bottle caps, indicating that this place has not been used for a long time. On the other side of the room are two huge bookshelves, filled with various religious scriptures and hymns related to the goddess of life. However, most of these books are brand new and have never been opened. Looking at this dirty study, Heidi's expression suddenly became more ashamed, unable to help but lower her head, but Hawthorne's expression became more satisfied. Okay, very good. The witches are obsessed with playing with the humans they capture or searching for suitable targets. They never come here, which gives themselves a great opportunity to secretly develop. Let's go in, he said, and then disregarding the dirty dust on the floor, he stepped into the room. Heidi followed closely behind, suppressing her disgust. After all, she was a witch from the deep sea who preferred clean and moist places, so naturally she was extremely averse to things like dust. However, she didn't have to wait too long, because Hawthorne had already opened his own system, and then selected the building, study, merging with it. Buzz. The purified white light shines, and the thick dust is instantly swept away. In just a few seconds, the entire room is refreshed. Now, he feels very clearly that this room seems to be a part of himself. He only needs to flick his finger, and any book in here can fly into his hand automatically, flipping to any page he desires. Perfect. He then walked over to the desk, and a brand new notebook flew out of the bookshelf and landed next to his hand. A pen flew out from the corner of the desk, filled with ink, and landed in his hand, making it convenient for him to take notes at any time. So intelligent, so automatic, it made him unable to contain his excitement. All previous fatigue and irritability vanished. Heidi looked at him with admiration in her eyes, then suddenly thought of something, took a step back, and said, "If the master wants to study here, should I go out first?" Hawthorne nodded, full of ambition, and prepared to start studying. "You go ahead and do your own thing, I'll study here by myself." Heidi nodded, then gently closed the study door that had been renovated and would no longer creak or collect dust. She turned around and walked away with small, quick steps. She plans to go out as soon as possible, exchange the gems in her hand for cash, and then buy all the magic books to give to her master. She walked away quickly, while in the study, accompanied by the gentle sunlight outside, Hawthorne quietly read the magic book in his hand. He felt his mind sharp and his thoughts clear. No matter how convoluted the written descriptions were, how intricate and complex the mathematical formulas were, or how abstract and difficult the modeling imagination was, he understood them at a glance and learned them quickly. Oh, I see. So, what the author actually wanted me to express is this. Great, I am gradually understanding everything. Originally, I already had a very strong foundation in mathematics, so I didn't need to study mathematics like a regular student at the Hawthorne Institute of Quantitative Analysis. What I lacked was only magic and the ability to transform mathematical knowledge into spells. And he is essentially a sorcerer, with his magical power derived from Heidi, which is abundant. Therefore, with the help of the study, he has truly learned how to cast spells, which comes naturally to him. The sun moves past due south, gradually veering towards the west. Time silently passes by, and it's even past mealtime. However, Hawthorne, who is immersed in the world of magic, is completely unaware of this. He eagerly absorbs knowledge of magic from his books, as if a long-dried sponge suddenly encountering a heavy rain, greedily soaking up the moisture. Finally, after 2 hours, he finally constructed the first spell he personally learned in his mind. Mage Armor. With the incantation on his lips, Hawthorne held the spellbook in his left hand and lightly touched his own body with his right hand. As a result, a protective magical force field appeared around his body, enveloping and safeguarding him. Success! Everything fell into place. Feeling the stable and resilient protective force field on his body, Hawthorne couldn't help but burst into laughter. Although he automatically learned the first-level magic spell water creation/drought spell through the power connection with Heidi the moment he signed the magic contract, he did not feel as excited as he does now at that time. For various reasons, apart from the fact that the spell was given by Heidi and not acquired through his own efforts, so there is no sense of accomplishment, there is also the fact that this spell is just a daily magic and does not provide any protection for him. He did not experience any increase in combat power despite learning the water creation/drought technique. Therefore, he still had no sense of security in his heart, and naturally, there was not much excitement. And now, having learned the mage armor, I dare not say anything else, but at least ordinary cold weapons can hardly harm him. The protective strength of the mage's armor is approximately equivalent to a well-crafted chainmail. Therefore, after casting this spell, ordinary hacking, impact, and so on, can no longer harm him. However, it is even lighter and more transparent, able to perfectly cover every part of his body, including his eyes, without revealing any gaps or weaknesses. So, from today onwards, the weapons of ordinary people are almost unable to harm him. From today onwards, I am also truly the cream of the crop, the best of the best. He was happily thinking in his heart, but before he could enjoy it for too long, his stomach started grumbling uncontrollably, growling. Hunger suddenly struck, and only then did he realize that it was already late and he hadn't eaten lunch yet. This is probably what Tao Yuanming meant by, whenever there is understanding, one forgets to eat with joy. I never thought that I could have such an experience. He chuckled self-deprecatingly, then turned his head to look outside the door, and softly called out, "Heidi?" However, he did not receive any response. Upon this, he couldn't help but furrow his brows slightly. Oh, right. Heidi went out and still hasn't come back until now. Should we wait for her? For safety reasons, he really didn't want to leave the study without the company of this witch. However, as he sat back in his seat, he felt waves of intense hunger rushing over him, urging him fiercely. It made his temples throb uncontrollably, making it impossible for him to sit still. Sigh. No, I can't do it. The consumption of learning magic is a bit too much, I can't bear it. At this moment, he instead felt a bit nostalgic for his past life because working overtime and staying up all night had messed up his digestion, leaving him in a state of not feeling hungry at the right time. It seems that sometimes, having a strong digestive ability is not a good thing. Hawthorne thought humorously about it, but there was no way around it. This is the cost of studying efficiency. In the past few hours, his entire body has been operating at its highest efficiency. The stomach pouch is responsible for peristalsis and digestion, the heart pumps fresh blood, transporting a huge amount of oxygen and nutrients to the brain, enabling him to quickly learn the first spell. Now, the cost has come. The feeling of hunger continues to urge him crazily, making him feel anxious and even a little dizzy. Finally, unable to resist, he looked out the window at the tranquil surroundings of the monastery, and a bold idea came to his mind. The witches seem to be absent, anyway it's just a few steps away, so I'll sneak into the kitchen and cook a meal myself. There shouldn't be any problem, right? And there won't be anyone in the kitchen, so it will be safe there. The chance of encountering a witch by oneself should be very small. The joy of mastering the mage's armor still lingers, giving him a burst of confidence. After making sure there was no one outside, he takes a deep breath, makes up his mind, pushes open the door, steps out, closes the door, and his heart can't help but race. Must hurry. Without hesitation, he quickly turned around, tiptoed, and ran towards the kitchen as quietly as possible. Foo. After all, the monastery is only so big, and it's only a few steps from the study to the kitchen. He ran all the way to the kitchen door, taking less than half a minute, so naturally no one noticed him. Perfect. He let out a sigh of relief, his heart that had been hanging in his throat returned to his stomach, he wiped away the sweat that had appeared on his forehead due to nervousness, and then pushed open the kitchen door. Then he saw a petite figure, slightly thin, wearing a nun's robe, curiously observing everything in the kitchen. And upon hearing the sound of the door opening, she immediately turned her head, her beautiful purple-red eyes filled with coldness, and she locked eyes with Hawthorne. Not someone else, but the Blade Witch, Yuta, who harbors a strong murderous intent towards him.